Today we are in for a special treat. We just finished up with the 6th grade presentation. Our 8th graders are going to be following you. The message that you are about to hear is going to change your thinking a little bit and will likely stay with you for the rest of your life. So it's very important that we represent our school in the right way. We demonstrate one of our key Hawk habits, and that's being respectful. What you're doing right now is what we expect for the entirety of the assembly. You're sitting on your bottom, your hands are to yourself, your eyes are on the speaker. Mr. Peace is here with us today. Some of you may know who he is. Maybe you visited your elementary school, maybe you heard about him in the community. He actually lives in the community. He has spoken to over 1 million youth, adults across the nation, 20 states. And he's here today at Walnut Creek. We have an expert and a celebrity on the important topic of making positive life choices. We are so lucky to have him here. And we got a little bit of help to get him here. There's an organization called Lakes Area Safe Harbor, Lakes Area Youth Assistance, that has provided us the opportunity and the other middle schools here in Walled Lake to bring Mr. Peace here. And we actually have a board member from the Lakes Area Youth Assistance. She's also a board member here from Walled Lake Schools. This is Nancy Nanloon. If we can give her a round of applause, please. So we thank her for being here. 7th graders, I just was in here for the 6th grade presentation. It is outstanding. You will be moved in a wonderful way. And one thing I want you to know, and Mr. Peace will touch on this as well, he will be sticking around for the lunches. He's not just here for 45 minutes and leaves. He's going to be sticking around throughout our lunches. We are so thrilled to have Mr. Peace. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
All right, it's great to be with you guys this morning. My name is Kevin, or Mr. Peace. Just to wake us up, I'm going to start with some hip hop, if that's cool with you guys. All right, 2 fingers up for peace, and let's rock it. Here we go. Mic check. All right, Walnut Creek, listen in. It's like this, it's love over hate, peace over wars, the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. Now it's our time to keep doing right, because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. It's love over hate, peace over wars, the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. Now it's our time to keep doing right, because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. Mr. Peace, empty heart, just to see that my dreams aren't as empty as my conscience seems to be. You still can't see my dreams, then you need LASIK surgery. I'm seeing 2020 and living life officially. The moment I arrive, I'm judged by what I'm doing. That which makes me come alive, and it's just not fair. But I'll keep making strides, though being skeptical remains. And I'll flourish and I'll rock in the flow of my refrains. See the people are my passion, and the reason that I'm rapping, bringing inner satisfaction to fuel a chain reaction. Aspire inspiration for your players' exploration. Only love is what I'm strapping in the will to make it happen. It's love over hate, peace over wars, the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. Now it's our time to keep doing right, because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. All right, now we're warmed up. Give me some round of applause. Nice. Give me 5, 4, 3, 2, peace. Thank you. That's how I get up every morning, a different beat on my alarm clock, and I wake up and start rapping. No, I'm joking. But it's great to be here with you guys to share my heart. My name is Kevin, I'm Mr. Peace. I'm a full-time youth pastor at St. Mary's in Milford, so I see some familiar faces. I've also spoken to the other middle schools in this school district. My off days, my off weeks, from the youth ministry, I do school assemblies all across the country, and I get to speak to people from age 5 up to age 105. And before I begin my talks, though, before I talk to any audience, I'd just like to let you guys know that every single breath that I take this morning is going to be worth your time. The talk today has a lot to do with these 2 individuals, Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. King. and what they lived for. And like the hook of my track says, the chorus, I said it's love over hate, it's peace over war. It's the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. But now it's our time to keep doing right, because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. And Gandhi, you know, he's been quoted, you've always heard the phrase, be the change that you wish to see in the world, but the actual quote is, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. So if you want to see more kindness, you want to see more love, you want to be love to any situation, your school community, this community in general, he's not just saying, well, do it if you feel like it. He's saying we have to. We have to show that compassion, that empathy, that respect. And bless you, like Dr. King just said, we just celebrated his birthday not too long ago, right? But he said that the time is always right to do what is right. And what is right is to include everybody around us, to show love, not only to ourselves, but other people, other backgrounds, other races, everybody. And even more importantly, what's right is what the other shirts that I wear say, one race, human. That we're able to see everybody around us as human beings before anything else, no matter how they're born, how they look, whether they walk differently, talk differently, see differently, hear differently, learn differently, we still see them as humans before anything else. But a lot can get in the way. So everybody just go like this real quick, make a fist. And now go like this. No, don't do that. Listen, this right here, your fist is as big as your heart, right? Your fist is as big as your heart. And the idea of Walnut Creek is that if we let love, peace, compassion, empathy, kindness fully enter into here, make that choice, we can turn this into this. And the reason that it's 2 peace sign, this is a middle school in Massachusetts, but the reason that it's a peace sign is because one finger is yourself, the other one is someone you're trying to lift up higher than yourself, if you choose that. But it's also 2 because in just 2 seconds, 1 word, 1 action, 1 heartbeat, 1 breath, 2 seconds. We can lift somebody up so high, encourage them, empower them by what we say or do that it stays on their heart in a positive way for the rest of their life. Or in 2 seconds, what we say or do can destroy a life. And with the talk today being about positive life choices, maybe one of the biggest choices we can make is to first love ourselves before we go and try to love other people. Because I got so many youth that come up to me that say, Mr. Peace, I don't love myself. When I look in the mirror, I don't see something that's even worthy of love. I don't even deserve this. And look, when we know that in just 2 seconds we could potentially change a life forever or save a life, we have to be all in for this planet because everything we do can affect people. We have this power, right? But how are we supposed to even use this power and love others if we don't love ourselves first? We can't. I was just helping out with my youth group about 4 months ago at a soup kitchen in Detroit. And I was the mashed potatoes that day, and the lady next to me, she was the gravy. And we just kept going one after another. We were serving 1,000 people that were homeless or just in need of a meal that afternoon. And finally, our first break in the action, I got to talk to this lady next to me and get to know where she's from, what her name was, all these things. But she tells me she was there 2 months earlier, doing the same thing, randomly serving what was on the menu that day. And then she randomly looked up across the counter. She saw her brother. And she hadn't seen him in 15 years. And her heart just sank. He fell into some hard times, was living on the streets, lost his job, his house, his car, turned to substance abuse. And she hadn't seen him in 15 years, and her heart just dropped. And she ran across the counter, saw what she was doing, she hugged him, they embraced, they cried. But the whole point of the story was that's how we're supposed to be treating everybody all the time. Like they're our brother, like they're our sister. But so much gets in the way. And here's the problem. On average, the average human being has between 60 and 78,000 thoughts per day. All of us. On average, between 60 and 78 thoughts per day. And this could be whether you put your right shoe on before your left, whether you choose Tim Hortons or Starbucks, but I'm a Tim, okay? And whether you choose Frosted Flakes, Fruity Pebbles, probably Frosted Flakes for me, whether you choose to listen to one word I have to say today. All of those started with a thought that then turned into an action. But look, out of these 60 to 78,000, 80% of these thoughts, research has shown empirical evidence, some studies at different universities, that 80% of our thoughts on average are negative in nature. That we're playing the same negative record over and over and over and over and over in our minds. And what's even worse, we're creatures of habit. So 98% of the thoughts that you had yesterday, you're having them today. About yourself, about your worth, about your value, who you are. And unless we change this, we're going to keep playing this over and over in our minds. Some of the lies. Because I have so many youth come up to me and say, Mr. Peace, my 80 is more like 110. Because all I think about all day, every day, is how I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Mr. Peace, I'm the reason for their pain. It's my fault. I'm not worthy of love. I don't deserve it. I'm a mistake. And it breaks my heart. How many of you guys have had food poisoning before? All right, hands down. I had it from Taco Bell once. I'm not going to get into details, but basically, when you have food poisoning, your body rejects it, right? In more ways than one, in more locations than one. But the idea is that your body rejects that poison. But when it comes to poisoning our minds by how we talk to ourselves or what we say to ourselves, what we believe, your mind and your heart don't know the difference. Whatever you tell it, it's going to believe. It's going to go with that story, right? And until we break that cycle and make a positive choice to love ourselves before anything else and then finally can push and show love to others, we can't be given all that we have for this earth. But I know it's not easy. It's hard to maintain the peace when you get a phone call that your friend passed away 24 years old. And there's nothing you can say or do, yeah, that's protocol. You just pray for healing at the friend's closed casket funeral. His only crime, not being buckled in the back seat. So when they hit the median, he flew at least 50 feet. Out the hatchback of his best friend's SUV, at least when it happened, he was already fast asleep. Heading back home on 96 eastbound, they took the cops while just to track the body down. And at the viewing, you just sit and watch without a sound while inside you're screaming about to cough up half a lung. Numb to the touch because it doesn't seem real. His boy only fell asleep for a second driving behind the wheel. But that's all it took, though. Can only imagine all the pain he feels. Parents have to bury their kids. It's surreal. October 21st, 2010, I lost a dear friend of mine, Steve Nagel, to a drunk driving accident. And he was in the back seat heading back from a bar in Detroit. He wasn't buckled. And the car hit a concrete median going 95 miles an hour, 996. He died on impact. October 21st was the start of my hardest year on this planet. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. 2010, leading into 2011. Not even a month after Steve passed, I got a phone call from Grandma Flo at 2 in the morning. She says, Peyton's gone. I said, what are you talking about? She says, Peyton's dead. This was one of my former youth group students, and her dad came home from work late like he always did, and went into her room. The light was still on, he just thought she forgot to turn it off, but he saw her laying on the floor, lifeless. He rushed over to her and called in her grandmother and grandpa and the ambulance, the paramedics. They tried to revive her for over an hour and a half, and nothing. She had died from a heroin overdose. By the time I get there, everyone's already gone. The ambulance left, and Grandma Flo just falls into my arms. And what are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to feel? I remember talking to Peyton in June of that year, and I said, I'd love to have you back to youth group. She just graduated high school, was starting community college, and I said, I'd love to have you back as a young adult leader for our youth group. She said, sure, I'll be there. And those are the last words that I heard. She was 17. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from another friend, said that my friend Josh had passed from oxycodone overdose, age 22. So I went to back funerals. Now my heart's starting to get pretty full. Only to be told that same week that Josh had died that I was diagnosed with hepatitis C. Hepatitis is inflammation of your liver, and you need your liver to live. A and B had vaccines and cures, and at the time C really didn't. There was a breakthrough treatment that you could try to see how you respond. And it was self-injections, shots once a week for 52 weeks, 6 pills a day that make you want to throw up for a whole year. It was liquid chemotherapy. And I lost 45 pounds in the first month. My body responded very well, and I lost a lot of weight. And that led to health complications for the next 9 months in and out of the hospital. A couple weeks after the diagnosis, I got word that my uncle fighting brain cancer passed. The following month, my uncle fighting leukemia. That June, my grandfather, and in the same week, my grandmother. And I was pallbearer for back-to-back funerals. Now my heart was ready to explode. I stopped caring, I started shutting down. I stopped kind of really caring how I even treated people. And then everything culminated in August of that year. I was at my apartment in Ypsilanti, Michigan, next to my cousin who was pregnant. And 2 guys in hoods and masks came through with pistols cocked at our stomachs and said, "Empty your pockets." And it's a moment in your life where everything flashes before your eyes. And you start to appreciate things a little bit more. You start to think about what's really important. But I remember the weeks that followed, I hated the people that did that to us. I hated all the death in my life, all the loss, all the pain. But I never showed it. Outside, I was always smiling, I was happy. But inside, I was dying. I was screaming. And I had this dream. And I never tell fake dreams, but there were these 2 polar bears. And they were scheming about how they're going to steal my Jeep Patriot. And they're like, "What would you do for a Klondike bar?" And the other one's like, "Well, I would steal Mr. Piece's Jeep Patriot." And I said, "Guys, I can hear you talking, like right here. What's going on?" They're like, "Well, it doesn't matter. We're bigger than you." So they end up getting in my Jeep and they start driving off. I'm like, "Guys, come on, just like seriously, just stop." And they're like, No, we're going to take your Jeep, bye." And so I'm like trying to latch onto the door. I'm like, "All right, guys, come on, seriously, pull over." And go around the corner, and they're driving off. I'm like, "Please stop." And then finally one of them just bites me on the arm. And I remember waking up in that moment and not feeling anything. Because I had become so numb to all the hurt in my heart. So many times they say on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? But the more important question we should be asking ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you feel? Because I stopped feeling. I stopped caring. How I treated people was at the lowest end of my priority list. I didn't care what I said, what I did. I got to the point at the peak of my pain, I was ready to turn to substances to relieve some of that pain, but just temporarily. And I'm so thankful I didn't, because I finally woke up and realized that yes, I was broken, but I was still okay. And that all that had happened to me was for a reason that I found out later. It brought a lot of people closer together in my life, taught me a lot about balance, gave me more motivation for what I do today. That the best way I can honor these people's legacy that have gone before me, to honor their memory, is by how I choose to live today. That they still live on in my heart. They didn't die for nothing. Their stories still live on by how I choose to live. And I started realizing this, right? And look, I've been healed from the hepatitis over almost 10 years now. It's still not traceable in my body. That was a physical healing, but more importantly, I was healed in my heart. And that's made the world of difference in my life. Because sometimes the suffering has to happen, the storms have to happen in order for rainbows to appear and for new life to spring up. There's a story about a butterfly, and this guy's doing his dishes, like around noon. And I'm sure as soon as you guys leave school today, you're gonna run home to the kitchen and say, "Mother, Father, I would love to do the dishes for you. Please kick your feet up and let me do the dishes. I would love that opportunity and that honor. Thank you so much." But anyways, he was doing the dishes, and outside the window, after he gets done washing them and puts them in the rack to dry, around noon, he sees this soon-to-be butterfly, a caterpillar, struggling to get out of its cocoon. He doesn't think much of it, but he comes back 3 hours later to put the dishes away, and it hasn't moved, maybe 2 millimeters. She's like, "Well, I gotta help this thing." So he gets a pair of scissors, runs outside, cuts a bigger slit, and falls right out easily. But what he just did is he just doomed this butterfly from ever being a butterfly. That it needed the struggle, the pain, in order to become a butterfly. In order for fluid to get pumped through its wings, it had to go through that suffering to finally become a butterfly and fly. But what he did is made sure it will never fly, but just have a swollen body and shriveled wings for the rest of its life. Guys, with pain can come greatness. Like Principal Kavanaugh said, I've been in 20 states now, over 1,000 schools, over 1 million youth who I've gotten the opportunity to speak to. Because I've chosen that path and chosen to honor these people, and that every breath I take, there's no guarantees. I keep using it to try to raise people up instead of bring others down. But it's not easy. I had an 8th grader that ran out of my talk once, and she came back later, and I said, "What's going on?" She was crying, and she said, "Well, Mr. Peace, I can't forgive myself." She said that a couple of weeks ago they won a softball tournament, and they were on the field celebrating for a while after, and her dad finally said, "Hey, we gotta get going, I got some stuff to do." She's like, "Dad, stop, you're just annoying." And he's like, no, seriously, we gotta get going, we've been here for a while, okay?" She's like, "Dad, knock it off, I'm in front of my friends." He's like, "Seriously, we gotta go." She's like, "Dad, I wish you just dropped dead." He's like, "All right, you know what, find your own ride home." So she does, and she starts going around the bend in her subdivision to their street, and there's an ambulance in the driveway. And it turns out that her dad, at 38 years old, was working in the garage when he got home. He actually had a heart attack, dropped dead. And to this day, she can't forgive herself. She just can't let go. And I know there's so much pain in some of your guys' hearts, and I wish there's certain people that we could just bring back for just a few minutes, a few seconds, just to tell them how much you care about them, how much you love them, how much you appreciate them, but I can't. But to still hold on to that and say that you can't forgive yourself or them or whatever's happened, you can't do all that. Remember some of your most painful memories. Anyone? Yeah. Abuse. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Yeah. Your grandfather passed on your birthday? Thanks for sharing, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Who's this? What happened? Or your grandmother had passed? Thank you. Yeah. Your uncle that passed? Yeah. Your grandparents. Thanks for sharing, guys. Thanks for your courage. Just a few more. A second when we get through here. I should have taken a different path. It's okay. Yeah. Uncle and grandfather in the same month. What about you? Right here? Yeah. Your sister, she was very young. So, I can't get to everybody because we got to keep going on. But guys, I want you to really pay attention here right now. What's the question that I asked? What did I say? Anybody remember? What did I ask everybody? I said, when was your most painful memory? All I asked was when. Every one of you told me what. And all of you would have told me that same thing too, which tells me that the pain is still raw. Some of your hands went up so fast, you remember that it happened yesterday. Right? So that means that until we can work past this, it's okay. I see some tears, that's okay, because tears are strength. They're the sweat of our strength. They're the start of the healing. They're the start of feeling again. I've cried a lot. And I know we're told not to, but that's the start of us finally getting all that from this earth, right, for other people around us. And I appreciate the courage for some of you guys reaching out. And I'm going to be here at all the lunches today, so if you want to share something one-on-one with me, we can work through that. But guys, look, when you guys are first born, goo gaga, right? Our hearts are kind of like this empty cup, pretty much empty, free of pain, free of hurt, free of loss. But little by little, our hearts, it starts to get full. Because we have painful memories or people say things to us that really hurt our spirit and our worth and our value. our hearts. What's going to happen if I keep filling this up? Overflow, right? And the first grader said, it's going to explode. I said, no, it's not. But the idea is that if I keep filling this up, it could overflow into ourselves. And we see this too often with self-harm, with substance abuse to try to deal with the pain. But even worse, this could overflow into others, how we treat them poorly. We're seeing that too often in the news. But guys, look, Walnut Creek, no matter how full our hearts get of pain and hurt, there's always room for love if we let it, if we choose it. So it's true that hurt people, which is the easy thing to do as a human being, that if I get hurt for whatever reason, I can push that pain into someone else. That's the easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is to forgive people that have shown us only hate, or forgive ourselves and become healed. So it's true that hurt people, but it's also true if we choose this. It's also true that healed people heal people. And what I mean by this is that if I choose to forgive someone that's shown me only hate, right? Or I choose to move past some of this pain in my heart, now I'm all in, I'm healed, and now I can go help heal other people. And Dr. King, he said that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And he said hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And I'm brought to schools for so many reasons. Sometimes it's substance abuse prevention or suicide prevention, or self-harm issues, violence issues, bullying issues, race issues. But those are all symptoms of deeper issues. That's what people do that are feeling alone, that are in pain, that are hurting, that have voids. Those are just the symptoms, right? We have to get to the root of what's really happening. And there's hope in so many other people's stories. There was a 9-year-old girl named Sandy came up to me. I was just talking to elementary school north of Chicago a few months ago. And she came up to me, her friend was holding her. She was crying. And she said, Mr. Peace, she was 9 years old. Sandy, she said that she just lost one of her best friends to a tumor. She had been fighting cancer. And she said, I've been bitter ever since it happened, and I haven't really been treating people right, honoring her the best that I could. But starting today, I want to choose more love. I want to choose more kindness. And she gives me this bracelet that says, #love never ends. Love never ends. That she's going to be that symbol of love going forward, right? And Nick Vujicic, he's a speaker, he talks all over the world. You guys might have heard of him, but he's from Australia, has no arms, no legs. He has a wife and 4 kids, and speaks to millions of people. But you guys can imagine, this is how he was born, no arms, no legs. You guys can imagine how severely bullied he was growing up, to the point that he actually thought about taking his life at age 10. His mom had told him when he was born that originally she didn't want him. He grew up with this, and all these negative thoughts, and all this self-doubt, and how he's doing things that are impossible. I mean, all of us have that same power, right? If we choose that, and find that inner strength to move past some of this, because it takes courage. I'm going to show you a quick video with Nick, and we're going to talk about it.
But honestly, along the way, you might fall down like this. Ready? So what do you do when you fall down? Get back up. Everybody knows to get back up, because if I start walking, I'm not going to get anywhere. But I tell you, there are some times in life where you fall down and you feel like you don't have the strength to get back up. Do you think you have hope? Because I tell you, I'm down here, face down, and I have no arms, no legs. It should be impossible for me to get back up, but it's not. You see, I will try 100 times to get up, and if I fail 100 times, if I fail and I give up, do you think that I'm ever going to get up? No. But if I fail, I try again, and again, and again. But I just want you to know that it's not the end. It only matters how you're going to finish. Are you going to finish strong? And you will find that strength to get back up, like this.
This is so cool that he was able to find, his worth and his value and making this choice, right, to be all in, because he's affected the lives of thousands from his open heart. And so many of you guys have that same power if you choose that. But it also means that we also have to see our worth too, to know that there's so many opinions out there, but not all of them matter. What matters is that we know our value and we can see it right on our palms. Every one of you, and I traced mine, has the letter M etched on your palm with the lines of your hand. Some of you guys have it on both hands, some of you just one hand. With the lines of your hand, sometimes there's like a faint line that connects it. You have the letter M, right? And this M stands for miracle, right? Upside down, W stands for Walnut Creek. Worthy. It stands for worthy, and Walnut Creek too. But here's the problem. So many students that I speak to, they can't see this in themselves. When they look in the mirror, they don't see themselves as a miracle. I had this fourth grader named Dylan from a school in Connecticut that came up to me. He said, Mr. Peace, I'm getting bullied because of my size, because I'm small for my age and because of where he was born. He's got some other issues going on at home too. He was crying. He pulled this out of his pocket. He said, Mr. Peace, you forgot that M also stands for mistake. And he looks at this once a day to remind himself who he is and believe this lie that somebody told him and called him. And it breaks my heart that it says, I'm a mistake. But he said, Mr. Peace, I don't want to believe this anymore. I want to believe this. And so his class that same week, and Dylan's hands in here too, they all said that they want to support him. They traced their M's, sent it to me in an email and said, we're going to make sure that he sees that he's worth everything. That he is valued, that he is cared about, that he is good enough, because all of you guys are, but sometimes it's so hard to see that. I was speaking in Pennsylvania. This sixth grader came up to me after my talk in the school that I was at, this middle school. It was all the visually impaired students. They housed them at this one middle school with a program that they had at the school, and this girl named Kaya, the sixth grader, came up to me after my talk, and she had a walking stick, so she was legally blind. She came up to me and said, Mr. Peace, can you trace my M? Because she can't even see her hands. So I did, so she could feel the M. And she looked at me and said, Mr. Peace, that's the first time that I've ever felt like a miracle. Guys, we have to do this. I mean, the need is beyond here. If you guys have seen the movie Wonder or read the book, about Augie. This is a real life Augie. This is Jackson Bezant. He's from Idaho. He's 8 years old. And the reason I'm showing you this is because he was also born with Treacher-Collins syndrome, where his facial tissue and bones don't fully form, leads to a disfigurement. He's also a special needs student. And all his classmates on a daily basis were saying that he's a monster, a freak, he's ugly. And he came home and told his dad at 8 years old, Dad, I want to end my life. At 8 years old. And his dad, his heart was crushed. He went online instantly and said, he posted about it. He said, can anybody send my son some encouragement? Anybody. Thousands of videos flooded in from across the world. People your age, younger, older, sent him positive words and of kindness and compassion to empower him, right? So your impact, the reason I'm sharing this, it's not just on the people sitting to the left and right of you, in front of you, behind you, within these walls at Walnut Creek. It's across this planet. If you choose this, right? And we have to, guys. I mean, you've seen the need. I had this was from an 8th grader that wrote this to me. His name was Danny, and he drew the fist for the heart and the peace sign and the M for miracle. At the bottom left, he said, Mr. Peace, you gave me something I have been searching forever to find. A reason to stay. For so many students, like the self-hatred, the non-love is getting so high that they'd rather potentially check out than deal with some of that. And look, suicide's never about wanting to die, it's about not wanting to deal with the pain anymore, right? But I said, look, you're still here for billions of reasons to help other people going through that same storm. To be their hope, to be their light if you choose that. We can always choose that. We can always choose kindness. I've had the privilege of getting to speak in Newtown, Connecticut, and I'm heading back there in April to talk to the middle school. And I've been to Sandy Hook and some other elementaries there. You guys probably know the story, but 2012 was one of the worst school shootings in U.S. history. 26 people lost their life at the school, mainly elementary age students. But the whole focus of the community is not on the tragedy or the deaths or the loss. They want to focus on kindness. So the 2nd grade class gave me this, they all signed it. And it says, one kind word can change someone's entire day. One kind word can change someone's entire day. Walnut Creek, I believe one kind word can save someone's life, right? If we choose this. And if we choose love. That hate will still be here, fear, bullying, all these things will still happen, even death. And we have billions of nerve endings in our bodies, so we will feel pain at some point in our life, but we always have a choice how to respond to that with love that can overcome anything. I had a 5-year-old, sometimes people write me letters or books or drawings, students, and I laminated this one. It was from Lillian, a 5-year-old, a kindergartner. She said, "Thank you, Mr. Peace. Aim for the good days, not the bad days. Love, Lillian." And she left the inside blank. And I said, "Why'd you do that? Why is the inside blank?" She said, "Well, I did that on purpose, Mr. Peace." I said, "Yeah, but why?" "Because, Mr. Peace, we choose good or bad. We choose how we're going to treat people, how we're going to live, no matter what's going on in our hearts. And I don't come to these talks to pretend I know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't. I come with an open heart to touch a small piece of yours." But she said, "Mr. Peace, we can always choose love over hate." This is a 5-year-old. If a 5-year-old can choose this, all of us can do this and should do this, right? I told you I'll be here for lunch, and I came back to this one school after spring break. I spoke at an elementary school, and I came back to their cafeteria too, and this 1st grader named Trey, about this tall, saw me from across the lunchroom. He said, Mr. Peace, my boy, come here, Mr. Peace." He's like the 7-year-old here. I said, "Trey, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, Mr. Peace, do you remember when you told us to treat people with more kindness and love ourselves and love others?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I went home that night and asked my dad if he could start treating me, my mom, and my sister with more kindness and compassion and respect." He told me his dad looked at him and said, "Don't you ever talk to me like that. Don't you ever talk to me like that. I'm an adult." And he just kind of brushed him aside. A week later, he took off. There were a lot of other issues leading up to it. But Trey came back to school on fire. He said, "Mr. Peace, people will feel my pain. They will feel how I feel in my heart." And our eyes are locked. And I said, "Trey, you still have a choice to be a great son to your mother, a great brother to your sister. One day, if you choose to break that cycle, a great father." And I see a tear coming down his cheek. And I'll never forget his next words. He looks at me and says, "I like chicken." And I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Mr. Peace, they're serving chicken tenders for lunch. They're bomb. You got to try them." And I said, "What?" And this 1st grader's mind was on to the next topic, but I come back 2 weeks later to speak again. And he runs up to me in the hall, he gives me a hug, says, "Mr. Peace, I'm choosing kindness. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing peace." This is a 7-year-old, right? All of us can do this, guys. And look, a few closing thoughts. If you guys live to be 80, if we live to be 80 on average, we're going to have taken 673 million breaths. 23,000 a day. If you live to be 80, 3.4 billion heartbeats on average, 115,000 a day. The goal is to make as many of these count as possible, right? By how we live, how we choose to treat people, the choices that we make. 2 most important dates in your life: the day you're born and the day that the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl. Sorry, no, the day that you find out why. We got a new coach. Let's see. Mark Twain said this, and part of your why is sitting to the left and right of you, people that need you. People that you might not even know but are going through the same storm that you are. To have your heart open, because my purpose is this. I found that. And when I'm speaking, every fiber of my being is totally alive, guys. I'm 110% in line with my purpose for this planet. If I died tonight, I would be fulfilled. Because I'm doing things out of love and that I love to do. And I want this for you guys, that whatever healing you're supposed to bring to this earth, that you find that you go after it as passionately as I do, right? That you're sometimes willing to lose sleep at night. Because it's so heavy on your heart. We're almost out of time, but I just want to end with a couple of thoughts too. You know, every talk I give, sometimes people give me bracelets. I got thousands of these. It's one of my bags. And people that come up to me, they say, Mr. Peace, your age, some older, some younger, say, Mr. Peace, if you didn't come today, I may not have been here tomorrow. That's how serious the non-love was getting in their heart. They were ready to potentially end things. The craziest one I ever got was from a student named Tom. He was an 8th grader, and he said, he pulled this out of his wallet, didn't say one word, and I instantly knew what was going on. This was his hospital room from an unsuccessful attempt. I just looked at him and I hugged him. I said, I don't have to carry that anymore. He cried and I cried, and I said, you're loved. You're still here for a reason. To help other people and to know that we never have to go it alone, guys. Ever. People standing up around this room right now, people in some of these chairs next to you, these guys love you like you're their own kids. They care about you, the teachers, the counselors, the staff, myself, your best friends. If you need to reach out, you never have to go this alone. Ever. Right? And if we don't have time to talk today, you guys can reach out to me online, send me a DM or an email. All your teachers will be getting one of my cards. They can pass along as many copies for you guys. I got the Instagram, Mr. Peace Geese. Why Geese? Why not? Mr. Peace 101, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You guys can follow me there too to continue the message. And if we don't talk today for some reason, and you do reach out, I don't always get back to you right away, but I always get back to you. And I don't have all the answers. I just try to reflect what you guys know, that you're beautiful. You guys are miracles. Sometimes you just got to get reminded of that. If something I shared today touched your heart, can you raise your hand? Hands down. It means you guys were given a gift. And now it's up to you to go share that gift. And the bracelet that Tom now wears, he gave me one too, instead of that other band. He has this one that says, I am a sign of hope. And that's what all of us can be. The shirt, keep your head up, is upside down for a reason. So if you're feeling down or look down, it says keep your head up. These are available on my online store. So are these other ones in different colors. So if you guys want to continue the message that way, that's fine. There's CDs, DVDs, stuff like that. But more importantly, guys, continue the message about how you choose to live going forward. By not only making the positive life choices, but staying in integrity with your actions, respecting yourself, striving for excellence, just like your hawk habits say. I'm going to close with some hip hop. Again, my information's here. Thanks again, Lakes Area Safe Harbor, Lakes Area Youth Assistance for sponsoring this. Let's close with some hip hop. 2 fingers up for peace. Gotta get my zone. Get all the hip hop skills from your principal. He's a renowned hip hop artist. Here we go. Mic check. Walnut Creek Middle School, I got something to tell you. That's why I'm here today, to wrap this to home. So listen to me and hear what I have to say. Hey, it's Mr. Peace, yeah, and you are my family. Let's break it down and start sharing about our feelings, about a new way that'll help promote healing. But be honest, pinky promise, if you really want peace, and if you do, then show your hands, please. I mean, for real, we need to take responsibility by including others when you have the opportunity, at lunch or recess, even in the hallway. Any chance to be be a friend throughout the whole school day. Cause with peace, I need all your support. I need everyone to step it up. Break, say 6, 7, 8, 4. Be good role models while demonstrating non-violence. Put an end to all of the hate that you see, yo. You gotta have each other's back through the thickest of thick and the darkest shade of black. The lowest of lows, everything to look back. Peace brings love, that's exactly what we lack. Come on, just let them say that you're peaceful. Full. And if you got peace, I got peace too. I'm saying whoa, just let them say that you're peaceful. Full. And in the words of Gandhi, peace be with you. Now listen, when I say peace, you all say in. Peace. And when I say peace, you all say out. Peace. And when I say show, you all say love. Show. And when I say be, you all say kind. Be. Thanks for touching my heart, guys. We'll see you at lunch.
Thank you. Like Mr. P said, he will be here during lunch, which is just an incredible, honorable thing for him to be doing. He's going to stick around. We hope you found the profound words that he shared as moving as we as a staff have. And we're excited to have him with our 8th graders here momentarily.